Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're tackling Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, a classic.
It really is. It's been a bestseller for decades, and everyone seems to have an opinion on it. But we're going beyond the hype.
Right, we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Does it actually hold up? Can these principles really help people achieve success, particularly financial success?
Exactly. And to be honest, when I first heard the title, I was a bit skeptical.
Think and Grow Rich. Sounds a little too good to be true.
Right. But Hill wasn't just making this stuff up. He spent years studying hundreds of incredibly successful people, like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, those kinds of names.
He was really trying to crack the code of success, looking for those common threads. And he believed he found a core principle, what he calls the Carnegie secret, woven through all these success stories.
Okay, secret. Now you've got me hooked. But before we spill the beans, I noticed something else that Hill emphasizes. Education.
Yeah, he has some interesting thoughts on that.
It's not just about formal schooling, right?
Not at all. He actually points to people like Henry Ford, who didn't have much formal education but achieved massive success.
So it's more about the application of knowledge.
Exactly. Hill argues that it's about taking what you know and putting it into action, experimenting, even failing forward. He quotes John Wanamaker, the retail pioneer, who said, "I learned more about business from the mistakes I made than from all the things I did right."
Learning by doing. I like that. It's about taking risks, not being afraid to stumble.
It's about embracing those stumbles as part of the process.
So it's not just about stuffing our heads with facts, but actually using that knowledge to create something, to build something. But how does this tie into the Carnegie secret? You've really built up the suspense here.
Well, Hill suggests that all achievement, especially when it comes to finances, stems from an idea.
Wait, hold on. So just having an idea is the secret?
If only it were that easy. We all have ideas, right?
Plenty. Most of them probably terrible.
Right. But it's about the power we give those ideas, the energy we put behind them. To illustrate this, Hill tells the story of Edwin Barnes in Chapter 1. Barnes had this burning desire, this intense, unwavering desire to work with Thomas Edison.
Edison, the inventor. Wow, that's aiming high.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing. Barnes was willing to do whatever it took to get to Edison. He even traveled by freight train just for a chance to meet him.
Okay, so he was persistent, resourceful. But I'm guessing a lot of people probably wanted to work with Edison. What made Barnes stand out? Was it his technical skills? Did he have some incredible invention he'd already created?
Hill emphasizes that it wasn't any of those things. It was Barnes's unshakable belief that he would work with Edison. He didn't just say it, he radiated that conviction. And that's what struck Edison.
So it's about more than just setting a goal. It's about cultivating this deep-seated belief that we can achieve it, almost like willing it into existence.
Exactly. Hill really dives into this idea that our thoughts have a tangible impact on our reality. He talks about thought vibrations attracting corresponding forces and circumstances.
Okay, now that sounds a little out there. Like, are we talking about some mystical mind power stuff?
Well, Hill was definitely drawing from various philosophies and ideas of his time, but he also tried to ground it in practicality. In Chapter 4, he introduces his famous 6 steps to riches. These steps, he claims, were endorsed by both Carnegie and Edison themselves.
So this is more than just positive thinking. There's a concrete plan here.
Absolutely. And those 6 steps create a roadmap for turning that desire into tangible results.
Why 6 steps, though? Couldn't it be simplified further?
Well, each step plays a crucial role. For instance, the first step is all about being specific about the amount of money you want. Not just, I want to be rich, but I will have this exact amount by this specific date.
I can see how that adds clarity, but why is that specificity so important?
It gives your subconscious mind, which Hill believed played a huge role in success, a target to aim for. A vague desire doesn't have that same power.
So it's like programming our internal GPS with the exact destination we want to reach.
Exactly. And then step 2 builds on that. It's about figuring out what you're willing to give in return for what you desire. Because as Hill reminds us, there's no such thing as something for nothing in the real world.
There's always a price, an effort required.
Exactly. Success requires contribution, it requires sacrifice. And then step 3 involves setting a deadline. Again, specificity is key.
Okay, so I'm setting a specific amount, I'm figuring out what I'm willing to contribute, and I'm giving myself a deadline. But I'm also a bit of a procrastinator. How do we make sure we actually stick to these timelines?
That's where step 4 comes in. Hill encourages you to create a definite plan of action. It's not enough to simply dream about your goals. You need to map out those steps you'll take to achieve them.
It's like creating a blueprint for building our financial future, step by step.
Precisely. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Steps 5 and 6 really tap into the power of the subconscious mind. Step 5 is writing down a clear statement of your desired amount, your deadline, what you're willing to give, and your plan of action. Step 6 is where you read this statement aloud twice daily, once before bed and once upon waking. But there's a catch.
Oh, a catch. Now I'm really intrigued. What is it?
As you read your statement, you need to fully visualize yourself already possessing the wealth you desire. You have to feel the emotions, the gratitude, the sense of accomplishment, as if it were already real.
So it's not just intellectualizing our goals. It's about embedding them into our emotional reality, almost like we're already living in the future success we envision.
Exactly. And this is where Hill's concept of autosuggestion comes into play. He suggested that our subconscious mind is most receptive to suggestions when they're infused with emotion, especially faith.
But is this really more than just wishful thinking? How do we bridge the gap between visualizing success and actually achieving it in the material world?
Hill argues that the power of autosuggestion is like electricity. Used constructively, it can illuminate our lives, but misused, it can be destructive. He even shares a story of suggestive suicide, where a man literally worried himself to death.
Wow, that's a powerful illustration of the impact our thoughts can have on our well-being. But it also raises some concerns. If our thoughts can be so powerful, how do we ensure we're using them for good? How do we overcome those nagging doubts and fears?
Hill stresses that persistence is key. He acknowledges that the initial stages of applying these principles might be met with skepticism, but he assures us that with continued effort, a whole new universe of power will unfold.
Okay, so it's about retraining our minds, almost like building a mental muscle, right?
It is, and it requires patience. But how do we move from believing in our goals to taking those concrete steps? And how do we know if our ideas are even worth pursuing in the first place? Those are excellent questions. And that's where Hill's emphasis on imagination comes in. He dedicates chapter 6 to this, suggesting that imagination is the true workshop of fortune building. He even tells this captivating story, The Enchanted Kettle, to illustrate this concept.
Oh, a story. I love a good story. Tell me more.
It's about this old country doctor who sold a secret formula and a kettle to a young drug clerk for just $500. The clerk believed in this formula's potential, and with a little imagination and a lot of hard work, he turned it into a massive success.
Wait, so the secret wasn't some magical potion. It was the clerk's belief and his ability to see the potential.
Exactly. The secret ingredient wasn't tangible, it was the clerk's imagination. He took a simple idea and, using his vision, transformed it into something extraordinary.
So Think and Grow Rich isn't just about visualizing wealth. It's about using our imagination to create tangible value in the world. That's fascinating. But even with a great idea and a burning desire, how do we actually make it happen? Don't we need a plan, a strategy to bring it all to life? And what about those inevitable setbacks we'll face along the way?
You're absolutely right. A great idea needs structure. It needs a plan to really thrive.
We can't just be dreamers, right? We have to be doers, too.
Exactly. That's where organized planning comes in. Hill dedicates a whole chapter to this, chapter 7. He argues that failure isn't the end, it's feedback.
Okay, so we learn from our mistakes, we adjust our approach.
Precisely. And remember that unwavering persistence we talked about.
Yeah.
That's crucial here.
Never give up, never surrender. But Hill also seems to emphasize collaboration, right? He talks about this idea of a mastermind group in chapter 10. I have to admit, I'm a bit skeptical about this. Isn't success ultimately an individual pursuit?
It's a common misconception, and Hill challenges it directly. He uses the example of Charles Schwab, whose persuasive speech led to the formation of U.S. Steel. Schwab didn't achieve this alone.
So it's about finding the right people, those who share your vision and can help you bring it to life.
Exactly. A mastermind group is like having a personal board of advisors, a team of individuals with diverse skills and perspectives.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value in this. But how do we actually form a successful mastermind group?
Well, those are great questions, and Hill offers some guidance on that. But there's another aspect of Think and Grow Rich that often gets overlooked, and that's the concept of sex transmutation.
Whoa, hold on. That's a chapter title that definitely jumps out. Now, before we go any further, I have to ask, what exactly is Hill talking about here?
It's a concept that might seem a bit out there, but Hill approaches it from a psychological perspective. He's talking about redirecting the energy we associate with sexual desire and channeling it into other creative pursuits.
So it's not about suppressing those desires, but rather transforming that energy into something productive, something that fuels our ambitions.
Exactly. Think about it. Passion is a powerful force. And Hill suggests that by consciously redirecting that energy, we can fuel our creativity, our ambition, even our genius.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But how do we actually do this transmutation? Is it some kind of meditation technique or mental exercise?
Hill emphasizes finding a balance, avoiding both excessive indulgence and repression. It's about understanding that energy is neutral, and it's our choice how we direct it. Activities like exercise, creative work, even spending time in nature can help us transmute this energy in a healthy way. But this leads us to another fascinating concept that Hill explores: the subconscious mind.
The subconscious. That mysterious realm that seems to have so much influence over our thoughts, feelings, actions. What exactly does Hill say about it?
Well, he dedicates chapter 12 to this topic, suggesting that the subconscious mind acts like a processing center. It takes the thoughts and emotions we feed it, both conscious and unconscious, and translates them into our physical reality.
So if we're constantly feeding our subconscious with negativity, fears, and doubts, those are the things that are going to manifest in our lives.
That's Hill's suggestion. It's about becoming aware of our thought patterns and making a conscious effort to cultivate positive, empowering beliefs.
So how do we reprogram our subconscious with the right stuff? Is it just about thinking positive thoughts?
It's more than that. Hill suggests that techniques like affirmations and visualizations can be powerful tools for reprogramming our subconscious minds.
Okay, so it's about taking deliberate steps to shape our subconscious beliefs. But Hill also talks about the brain itself, right? What's his take on how the brain functions in relation to success?
This is where things get really interesting. Hill describes the brain as a broadcasting and receiving station for thought vibrations. He suggests that our brains are capable of both sending and receiving thoughts from other minds.
Wait, hold on a second. Are you saying that our thoughts aren't just confined to our own heads? That we're constantly exchanging information and energy with others on a subconscious level?
That's Hill's suggestion, and it ties back to his belief in the power of the mastermind principle. He argues that by surrounding ourselves with like-minded individuals, we can amplify our thoughts and create a collective energy field that supports our goals.
Okay, so our thoughts can influence others, and their thoughts can influence us. That's a pretty powerful idea.
It is, but Hill goes even deeper, exploring something even more mysterious: the sixth sense. He dedicates chapter 14 to this.
Now we're getting into the realm of intuition and gut feelings. I've always been fascinated by the idea of a sixth sense, but I've also struggled to understand how it works. What does Hill say about it?
He describes the sixth sense as a sort of inner guidance system, a guardian angel, that warns us of danger and guides us toward opportunity.
So it's that feeling we sometimes get, that nudge or a voice that tells us to go for it, or to steer clear of something.
Exactly. It operates beyond our conscious awareness, providing insights and intuitions that we can't always explain logically.
But if it's beyond our conscious control, how can we develop and trust our sixth sense?
Hill suggests that by developing our other faculties, particularly our imagination and intuition, we naturally strengthen our connection to the sixth sense. He also emphasizes the importance of meditation and quiet reflection, creating space for those inner whispers to be heard.
So it's about quieting the noise of the outside world and tuning in to our inner wisdom. But this deeper connection, Hill argues, also helps us overcome the 6 basic fears that hold so many people back.
Those fears are pretty universal: fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
Those are some heavy hitters. I think we all struggle with those fears to some extent.
We do. And Hill argues that fears are nothing more than states of mind. They're patterns of thinking that we can change.
So it's not about pretending those fears don't exist. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to them.
Exactly. And that's where connecting with our sixth sense and a higher power, whatever that may be for you, comes into play. Hill suggests that this connection gives us access to a source of courage and wisdom that transcends our individual limitations.
Okay, so we tap into a higher power to help us face our fears. I like that. But how does this all tie back to achieving financial success? It seems like we've gone pretty far afield from our original topic.
It's all connected. Hill brings it all back together in chapter 15, where he talks about developing a money consciousness.
Money consciousness. What exactly does that mean? Is it just about wanting money?
It's about more than just wanting money. It's about cultivating a mindset that aligns with the principles of wealth creation. Hill argues that poverty is often a self-fulfilling prophecy. a result of negative beliefs and habits that repel wealth.
So it's about shifting from a scarcity mindset to one of abundance, believing that there's enough for everyone and that we deserve to prosper.
You got it. And Hill suggests several strategies for making that shift, including surrounding ourselves with successful people, studying the principles of wealth creation, and practicing gratitude for the abundance we already have.
So it's about immersing ourselves in an environment that supports our financial goals, learning from those who have achieved success, and appreciating what we already have.
Exactly. And Hill believes that when we combine these strategies with the other principles we've discussed, we tap into the universal law of attraction, drawing into our lives the people, resources, and opportunities that support our financial goals.
Okay, so it's not just about hard work and smarts, it's about aligning our energy with the energy of abundance.
It is. And Hill doesn't stop there. In Chapter 16, he introduces the concept of a definite chief aim.
A definite chief aim. What's that?
It's like your life's purpose, your ultimate goal, the thing that truly motivates and inspires you. Hill argues that without a clear sense of purpose, we're like ships without rudders, just drifting aimlessly through life.
So it's about identifying our passions, our talents, what truly matters to us, and then setting a course toward achieving those goals. But how do we define our definite chief aim if we're not even sure what we want?
Hill suggests taking some time for quiet reflection, exploring our values, interests, and aspirations. He also recommends writing down our definite chief aim, making it clear and concise, and visualizing ourselves already living it.
So we create a blueprint for our ideal life, a vision of who we want to become and what we want to achieve.
Precisely. But even with a clear purpose and a strong desire, sometimes it's hard to get started. Procrastination, self-doubt, these things can really sabotage our efforts.
Tell me about it. Those are my constant companions. What's the antidote?
Hill addresses those challenges head-on, emphasizing the importance of taking action, no matter how small the steps may seem. He encourages us to develop the habit of personal initiative, overcoming procrastination by taking immediate action toward our goals.
So it's not about waiting for the perfect moment or having all the answers. It's about simply starting, taking that first step, and then the next.
You got it. And as we take those steps, Hill encourages us to maintain a positive attitude, focusing on the opportunities rather than the obstacles. He suggests that this optimistic outlook is contagious, inspiring others to support us and contribute to our success.
It's like we're creating a ripple effect of positivity.
Exactly. But maintaining that positivity can be challenging, especially when we're faced with setbacks and disappointments. So, how do we stay resilient in the face of adversity? Hill believes that leadership plays a crucial role in maintaining resilience and inspiring others. He dedicates Chapter 17 to this topic, arguing that true leadership is based on cooperation, not coercion.
So it's not about bossing people around. It's about motivating them, creating a shared vision, and fostering a sense of teamwork.
That's it. But leadership also requires self-mastery. So how do we cultivate the discipline and inner strength to lead effectively, especially when we're facing our own challenges? Hill argues that it starts with self-discipline. He devotes an entire chapter to this, Chapter 18, calling it the cornerstone of all achievement.
Self-discipline. Ugh, that's a tough one. It's so easy to get sidetracked, especially in today's world with all its distractions.
It is. But Hill compares self-discipline to a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes.
So we start small, set realistic goals, and build from there.
Exactly. And it's not about becoming some kind of robot devoid of all enjoyment. It's about making conscious choices that align with our desired outcomes.
So it's about building those positive habits, but also about being kind to ourselves when we slip up, right? We're not aiming for perfection.
Absolutely. Hill emphasizes self-forgiveness. We all make mistakes. The key is to learn from them and keep moving forward. And here's something else to consider. Hill argues that self-discipline is easier to maintain when we surround ourselves with positive influences.
Back to that idea of the mastermind group, having a supportive network.
It really can make all the difference. And Hill believes this positive reinforcement extends beyond our immediate circle. He suggests that by cultivating self-discipline, we naturally radiate a certain energy that inspires and attracts others.
So it's about more than just achieving our own goals. It's about becoming a positive force in the world, inspiring others to do the same.
Right. But how do we ensure our efforts are truly effective? How do we make sure we're making actual progress toward our goals?
Yeah, how do we avoid just spinning our wheels?
That's where accurate thinking comes in. Hill dedicates Chapter 19 to this, arguing that most people's thinking is clouded by all sorts of biases and assumptions.
Okay, accurate thinking. Seems a bit obvious, doesn't it? Who sets out to think inaccurately?
Well, the point is, we often operate on autopilot, accepting information without really questioning it. We fall prey to cognitive biases, logical fallacies, emotional reasoning, and that kind of thinking can lead us down the wrong path.
So it's about developing critical thinking skills, learning to evaluate information objectively. But in today's world, we're bombarded with information from all sides. How do we even know what to believe?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Hill emphasizes seeking out diverse perspectives, considering different viewpoints, and being willing to change our minds when presented with new evidence.
It's about becoming more discerning, more critical in our thinking.
Exactly. But even with accurate thinking, there's still a challenge of actually putting our plans into action. How do we avoid getting stuck in analysis paralysis?
So that's me, always overthinking things.
Hill tackles this in Chapter 20 with the principle of concentrated effort. He argues that most people waste energy by trying to do too many things at once.
Multitasking, the curse of the modern age.
He suggests prioritizing our goals and focusing our energy on achieving them one at a time. It's about maximizing our impact by concentrating our efforts.
So we need to be more intentional with our time and energy. But what about when we hit those inevitable roadblocks? How do we stay motivated when things get tough?
That's where belief comes in. Hill stresses the importance of maintaining a positive attitude, even when facing challenges. It's not about ignoring problems, but about choosing to focus on solutions.
So we shift our focus from what's wrong to what's possible. But isn't there a danger of becoming overly optimistic, of setting unrealistic expectations?
Hill acknowledges that balance is important. It's about being realistic, but not letting setbacks define us. Challenges are opportunities for growth and learning. And Hill takes this idea even further with his concept of cosmic habit force.
Cosmic habit force. Okay, now we're getting into some really deep stuff. What's that all about?
This is where Hill's philosophy delves into spirituality and universal laws. Cosmic habit force, also known as the law of attraction, suggests that our thoughts and beliefs have a magnetic power, drawing into our lives the things we focus on.
So we're back to that idea of our minds as magnets, attracting what we put out into the world. But isn't that a bit simplistic? Don't our actions also play a role?
Absolutely. Hill isn't suggesting we can just sit back and wish for things to happen. Action is crucial, but he believes our actions are most effective when they're aligned with our thoughts and beliefs.
So it's about creating a kind of feedback loop. Our thoughts influence our actions produce results, and those results reinforce our beliefs.
Exactly. We build momentum, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of success.
Okay, but how do we apply this cosmic habit force in a practical way?
Hill suggests visualizing our goals as already achieved, feeling the emotions associated with success, and acting as if our dreams are already a reality. It's about aligning our inner world with our desired outcomes.
So it really is all about mindset, about believing in ourselves and our ability to achieve our goals.
It is. Hill reminds us that we are all capable of greatness, that within each of us lies the potential to think and grow rich, not just financially, but in every aspect of our lives.
This has been an incredible journey through Think and Grow Rich. We've covered a lot of ground, from the power of thought to the importance of faith, persistence, and taking action.
We've explored the subconscious mind, the power of leadership, the importance of self-discipline, and even touched on the mysteries of cosmic habit force.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What enchanted kettle will your imagination create? What dreams and aspirations will you bring to life? The journey starts with a single step, so take that step today. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those thoughts empowered.